So this is really cool. You guys are going to appreciate this. So why 10,000 steps? I'm on a mailing list from this gentleman. He's an author and writer, Michael Easter. He's also a professor too. He wrote this book called The Comfort Crisis. It's one of my favorite books. I've listened to it about 4 times. Usually when I'm driving up to go hunting or camping, it's just one of those books that just really connected with me. It's a great read. You can kind of tell based on the title right there what it's about. But he has this email list, and he sent an email out to his subscribers about 2 months ago, and it was on why do you want to shoot for 10,000 steps? And the answer to it is really fascinating. So I'm going to click over to that, and I put this on my website, so I'll share this with you guys. So I just basically copied and pasted it and put it on here. So why 10,000 steps? And I'll just read kind of a couple bullet points from this right here. So in the 1960s, I'm probably going to botch this dude's name, a Japanese doctor named Hirosho Hatano estimated that the average Japanese citizen walked just 3,500 to 5,000 steps daily. He worried that inactivity was hurting the health of Japanese citizens, and he suggested that everyone should double their level of physical activity. But how do you actually know if you've done that? You need to measure it. Enter Yomashita Toki. I probably mispronounced that. Sorry. He was a watchmaker who saw an opportunity in Dr. Hanato's recommendation. He took the shell of an everyday pocket watch, but tweaked its internal parts and function. His watch no longer counted time, it counted steps. He called this invention the Mampo key, which translates to 10,000 step meter. The device took off. Walking clubs popped up around Japan, with members using the 10,000 steps meter to get at least 10,000 steps each day. The number worked for a lot of reasons. It was round, it was memorable, it had 5 figures, which felt better than 4 figures, and hitting it required extra walking, but not so much that people felt like professional walkers. So the number stuck. It became the standard recommendation for how many steps we should take daily. I thought that was super cool. So there's an actual story behind why it's 10,000 steps and why you should shoot for that. Now, it digs a little bit deeper as to the science behind that. So a couple highlighted points here. The average American gets between 4,000 and 6,000 steps per day. For example, the average Amish man takes 18,000 steps, while the average waiter gets around 22,000, probably 23,000 steps. On the other hand, many Americans walk just about 2,000 steps per day, which is pretty pathetic. That's about 1 mile. 1 mile. So we gotta do better than the average American right there. 2,000 steps. And then what amount of steps is so low that it's dangerous? So they've done studies on this exact quantity of steps. So the answer to this question seems to be any step count below 5,000. The lower the number, the worse the outcomes. For example, one study found that people who took fewer than 5,000 steps a day had substantially higher prevalence of heart disease, the #1 killer of Americans. Another found that people who fell below the 5,000 number had a significant higher risk of depression. So there's obviously a lot of other factors coming into that, like diet and nutrition and lifestyle, etc. So, but that's a pretty interesting factoid right there, that it kind of goes hand in hand. If you're walking under 5,000, well, guess what? You're probably also eating like crap too. What's the minimum number of steps that allows people to remain healthy? Some studies say that the minimum ideal dose is 8,000. Some say 7,000. So let's just say it's somewhere between 7,500. Other studies show getting at least 7,500 steps significantly lowers our risk of depression, heart disease, diabetes, and more. That number seems to be a sweet spot where we reduce our risk in the least amount of time. Is getting more than 7,500 steps a day better? He basically says yes, even though some studies suggest that going above 7,500 doesn't offer more protection, others do. On a balance, a more active person is more likely to be healthier than a less active person. Fitness is a hedge against sickness. So basically saying, if you're getting 7,500 steps per day, you're probably doing other healthy things to move the needle right there. Getting 8,000 steps per day led to a 51% lower risk of death compared to getting 4,000 steps per day, which is good, but not as good as getting 12,000 steps in per day. The people who hit that number had a 65% lower risk. So as you get over 10K, the risk for, or the lowering the death rate actually starts to improve once you get to above 10,000 steps, which I thought was really cool. People with the lowest risk of chronic disease in the world, various hunter-gatherer tribes, tend to all get around 20,000 steps daily. They, of course, have other things going for them, like diets mostly devoid of junk food. Obviously, that's going to come into play. 15,000 to 20,000 steps a day is probably a historical regular optimal level for human activity. So I thought that was super cool how not only where it came from, but also that there's been a lot of studies basically pointing the direction to, hey, 7,500 at the absolute bare minimum. If you hit 12,000 or more, you're doing good. And it goes to show you're walking that much, you're probably going to be doing other healthier things. So going back to slides here. So I'll post that when I share the recording of this, you guys, if you want to read that full article or full email there, it's pretty cool. So a couple step hacks, and these are a couple things that I've been implementing recently that I wanted to share with you guys. So I call this the timer hack. Set a timer on your phone, and I was doing this just right before our call. Work for 50 minutes, and then walk in the house or outside for 10 minutes. So that's a good way to hold yourself accountable to, hey, I'm going to walk, and then repeat this 3 to 5 times throughout the day. And that can get you close to 5,000 steps right there, depending on how many times you do it. The next one, follow the leader. So this is, if you've got kids, this one works pretty well. So involve kids in step count. Follow the leader during kid time is an easy way to get 1,500 to 2,000 steps. So my daughter, I have her keep track of her steps. And at night when her brothers are down, depending on where she is, we'll just play follow the leader and walk around the house. So I'll be the leader. I'll walk around the house. I'll go in circles. I'll go between the couch. I'll go up and down the stairs, and she just follows me around, and then it's her turn. And then I follow her around the house. So it's just a fun little way to involve the kids with step count. And then I just have a little note here at the bottom. 1,000 steps takes about 10 minutes. So obviously it depends on how fast you walk and how long your stride is, et cetera. Probably actually being shorter would help you get more steps in this case. So if you guys are doing this little timer hack up at the top where you're setting your phone for 10-minute walks 3 to 5 times per day during your work hours, that's an easy way to rack up a couple thousand steps right there. All right. So this is something that has been working well for me, you guys. I'd like to see it implemented or give it a shot. Okay.